Hey guys, how's it going? A couple days ago, I was on Reddit and I posted some responses to questions. Like this one question was, uh, I'm a JavaScript developer who just got fired. And I've been working with this company for 3 years, but I haven't learned anything new in 3 years. So basically, just plain vanilla JavaScript jQuery for three years, right? And my response was, it wasn't mean, it was just very cut and dry. I said, well, if you haven't learned anything in 3 years, that's probably why you were fired. It would be in your best interest to start developing your skill set while you have some time off. It was, in particular, it was in response to another person responding to this post saying, don't worry, you just need to be more confident, and you need to get out there and just have more confidence, and you should be able to get back on your feet. And I was responding sort of to that. I said, you're not really helping him the way you think you are, or at all. You're not helping him at all. This is non-helpful advice. I said, you really should have learned a lot of things in 3 years. Now you can't go back and change that. You can't go back in time. However, your mentality has to change such that you're constantly reinventing yourself, or constantly evolving your skill set, because 3 years is a long time. Right now it is September 2017, so if I'm looking at 3 years ago, late summer 2014, what was I doing? um, I was just starting to get good at Node. I had been about a year of Node Express, and I was about 6 months into Angular 1. So I was still kind of like quasi beginner, but like starting to get good at Angular 1, right? Angular 1 is not even in my toolkit anymore. I just don't do it. Completely moved on to React Redux. Still do a lot of Node, but beyond the web stack, I've moved on to lots of DevOps stuff. So I've been getting very good at the DevOps side of the equation. Setting up load balancers, auto scaling groups, and all that stuff. Doing a lot of Nginx, working with Nginx and setting up server configurations on Nginx. And also I've been touching a lot on AWS Lambda. And that's all in the last like 6, 7 months. Where I am now is so much further ahead than where I was 12 months ago, never mind 3 years ago. And even 12 months ago, roughly the time I started to take this YouTube channel even seriously, if you want to call it serious, but the roughly around the time I kind of committed to this YouTube channel, um, I'm much better now than I was then, and I don't think I was a bad developer then, but I look back thinking like, I really like I'm glad I'm so much better now, right? So hopefully 12 months from today, so summer 2018, who knows what I'll be working on, but hopefully I'll look back and think, wow, I'm so much better than I was in summer 2017. That has to be the story every year, right? Every 3 years, you should be unrecognizably better. And for me, 2014, yeah, I can honestly say I'm unrecognizably better. Um, at that point, I was still doing Objective C. That was my main mobile development language. Swift had just been announced. Had just been announced as a new language, so obviously I wasn't doing Swift. And Angular was still kind of like a cool new thing to me, right? So like that's an unrecognizable person. I would not hire that person today to work for me, and that was 3 years ago, right? That was me 3 years ago. So this person on Reddit was asking the right questions. He or she, as it may be, was asking like, what can I do now? Because I just lost my job, and how do I stay competitive in this field? Like, what do I need to do? And one of the responses, like I said, was just be more confident. Like, you just need to be, show people what you can, like just communicate that you're good at what you do. And I said, it's not good advice. You need to put that aside. Um, One of the things I deal with from junior programmers is sometimes they're overconfident. They don't know how good they're not. And I can't work with people like that. I hired a guy from one of the local boot camps about 4 or 5 months ago, It was one of the better boot camps in the area, New York City. The guy was in his probably mid to late 20s, I don't know, 27, 28, and did the whole, full stack JavaScript. And his work was just sloppy. And he was telling me things like, you should really reconsider Mongo and start using Postgres. Like as if I hadn't really given this a lot of thought. Like, and plus, this guy just graduated boot camp. Like, let's be serious. Like, I've been doing this for 5 years. Like, to even question whether or not I had given that any thought is exhausting. Like, I have to now sit down and explain to this person, like, no, I'm not going to do that. I just fired him. Right? I just don't have the time or the energy for this. Right? So, um, this is dealing with like, was his programming skill good? I mean, I guess it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't. He negotiated a higher rate, So like I tried to negotiate 30 an hour. He pushed it up to 50. I was like, okay, fine. Your opening rate is 50 an hour, but then I'm going to expect $50 an hour worth of work, right? And his work had typos, and it was clearly careless, right? And forget the carelessness. Like, he was giving me like advice, like, you should really reconsider the way you design this and that. And having been a beginner once myself, I know where this impulse is coming from. It's coming from the fact that he's not as comfortable with the way I set things up. He knows what he knows from his boot camp, and so he's trying to suggest to me as if this was like an improvement. No, it's not. It's not an improvement. It's a comfort level thing. He wanted to improve his comfort level, not my tech stack. Right? My tech stack is fine. I'm very comfortable with the modularity of my stack and how testable it is, and whether or not I'm using best practice. I know I am. Right? I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this longer than when this guy even thought about going to a boot camp, right? So it's very exhausting working with people like this, to the point where a lot of companies and developers like myself simply choose not to. I just don't want to work with people like that. So telling someone like this to be more confident is bad advice. It's bad advice. Where is this impulse even coming from? A lot of these people are just doing it to make themselves feel better about themselves. Just pat themselves on the back. Like, I gave this guy some good advice. You didn't help anybody. So that's something that kind of gets under my skin. I was doing a demo in June, and one of my former students was with me at the demo, and it's actually on the website. It's one of the tutorials on the website, and I believe it's the deploying websites one, maybe, or it might be the one right after that. And after these demos, there's always a Q&A, which I don't record. I just record the demo. But there's always a Q&A, and people ask me questions, almost always specifically related to career development. Like, how did you get your first gig? How do you find jobs? How do you, like, what's your process in terms of getting clients and whatnot? That's number one. I also get a lot of questions on, like, where do I fall in, like, what should I take next? What should I study next, right? Got this one guy at this particular demo who was like, yeah, I've been thinking about going into coding for the past 4 years. I've been thinking about switching careers out of my current industry and into coding for the past 4 years, right? And like, I did a lot of tutorials, and I thought about going to a boot camp, but I decided it was too expensive and I couldn't quit my job, all this stuff, right? And it's pretty apparent that people like this just won't make it, and they should quit now. They should just quit. They're not going to make it. You can't talk about something for 4 years saying you might do it and still be on the fence after 4 years. You're not taking yourself seriously. You're not taking any of this seriously. And quite frankly, you're just wasting people's time, right? Because if you're looking at something for think about well, I don't know where you guys are in your personal development, but 4 years ago, I just talked about 3 years ago. If we're looking at 4 years ago, that's 2013. I didn't even know Node Express. I barely knew Objective-C and iOS, right? That was 4 years ago. That's when I picked up Node Express, backend, and some Ruby on Rails. And then in that amount of time, the amount of like material I got learned and got good at is undescribable. I'll need a couple hours just to get into it, right? And this guy has been thinking about programming for getting into it for 4 years, right? And the longer I've been running Velocity, I still run Velocity in person, and I know the website goes right to Turbo, but I still do my in-person demos on the meetup page. And I see the same people coming to these demos for it's been over a year, right? And they're still thinking about getting into programming, right? And then you got to wonder, like, where do you fall in this category, right? Are you a doer or a talker? That's really what it boils down to. Are you a doer or a talker? The problem with the talkers is that they don't realize how easy they are to recognize, right? And so I know these people will never sign up for a course. They're never going to get serious with their programming career. They're not sales. I don't mind that they come to my demos because they fill out seats. That's fine. But these people aren't going to go anywhere in their programming career, probably anywhere in any career, quite frankly, because anyone with that kind of inclination is just not a doer, right? That's it. They won't execute on any plan. They'll just talk about it. What I've come to realize is that for a lot of people, that is the payoff. Just talking about what they want to do. Right? That is the payoff. Like that's what they actually enjoy doing the most, is talking about what they want to do. These are the talkers. They just like to talk. It's another reason why you don't see me put up a lot of these kinds of videos on my channel. I want to go at least once a week, maybe twice a week, but realistically, I'd probably put these up maybe like twice a month. Why is that? Because I'm programming 12 hours a day, building Turbo, and then working on my client stuff, and then testing out some other functions, testing out some other libraries. I hooked up an AWS Lambda abstraction last week. I'll show you a demo in another video soon, but it's really cool how it works. We just basically set up a functions as a service, and it deploys through Turbo. It deploys your discrete functions off of the Lambda infrastructure, and then we can just run it for you. And it's awesome because you can install npm packages onto the functions as a service, and you don't need any servers, nothing. It's a serverless environment, so you can just install your entire npm modules in there without doing any server programming, and just do whatever. Excuse me. So I'll show you a demo in another video, where you can send like an SMS text through this functions as a service with no server integration at all. It's actually pretty cool. Anyway, I'm busting my ass working on stuff like that, which is why I haven't been making these videos. Excuse me, got something stuck in my throat, so I'm sorry. So what are you? Are you a talker or a doer, right? So you really got to you need to assess that. If you're watching my channel, you probably want to become a programmer, probably. I can't imagine anyone else watching my channel because that's really all I talk about. So if you're watching my channel, you probably want to become a programmer, or you might be a programmer right now at the earlier stages of your career. I think my channel is more aimed at year one developers, not so much year 4, 5, and 6. So if you're watching my channel, you got to ask yourself, what category do you fall under? Are you a talker or a doer, right? And then if you're a talker, understand a few things. Number one, you're not going to make it. Just understand that. Just quit. This isn't for you. Unless you think you can change that disposition. I personally find it, in my experience at my age, I'm finding that most zebras can't change their stripes. So this is what you are. It's what you are. More importantly, number two, understand that people like this are very easy to recognize by the doers. So now when I do my demos, I get 10, 12 people. I know before I even begin who the talkers are. Like, having never met these people, like, I just know you're a talker. Like, I can just tell. You're spitting out buzzwords and just telling me about what you've been wanting to do for the past 6 months and all that stuff. And those people don't understand how easily they're recognized by the doers, by people like me. They're just hurting their own their own reputation in the greater community. New York City is a big city, but the tech scene isn't that big. I see the same people, see the same companies. There's only a few, there aren't tens of thousands of Node React developers in New York City and React Native. There might be 1,000. So understand that. And then really ask yourself, what do you want to do with all this? Just talk about tech and never get anywhere with it. I have enough people like that in my life, and most people who are programmers have enough people like that in their life, because you get bombarded with ideas from people who can't build it. And I've become quite an expert at telling friends of friends, that's a great idea, but I'm not really in a position to help you build this right now because I have a lot of clients and blah, 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 blah. And I have to have that conversation at least once a week. It's just part of my day. It's just part of my routine. As a talker, this is you're in this category. Like I just sort of find a way to shuffle along. Understand that you're not contributing to anything here. Now, I'm not trying to be mean. I try to maintain sort of a positive angle on my videos, or to the best that I can. But this is the reality of the situation. That you have to understand you have to ask yourself what you want out of this sort of journey you're on, right? So I'm going to do another demo in about 4 days, and I'm going to see some people that I've seen for the past 8 months, and I'm going to say all the right things. Hey, it's good to see you. How's your summer? What are you working on these days? But the whole time I will know this guy is not for real. This person is not for real. He has no ability to execute. He has no fortitude. He will never improve his own skill set and actually complete a challenging objective, like learning how to program. It is very, very hard. Another thing I don't do is tell you that everyone can learn how to program. That is false. Not everyone can learn how to do this. Many more will fail than succeed. And a lot of people will fail simply because they quit, not because they just don't have the aptitude. There's that too, but there's going to be people who just quit. And that's going to be the more common reason for failure than lack of ability. As a talker, you fall in that category, and I mean, you're not even a starter. Like you just haven't even begun to learn programming. So these are the people that that they self-identify. So again, if you're watching this video, you have to seriously ask yourself, are you in that category? And if you think the answer is yes, then another thing you have to understand right away is that everyone else already knows that, by the way. Like everyone who's a real programmer, a real worker, they already know that. So, don't worry about like trying to like cover it up in any way. But more importantly, ask yourself, how can I change that? What do I have to do to change this? Like, how do I start building product? How do I start developing my skill set, getting work out the door? It's not easy. It's actually quite difficult. Like I said, when I started learning programming in 2010, it was months before I built anything of any real, like, not good, just like that's even usable, that works, that actually works. You turn it on and you see something. It took me about 5 or 6 months before I got there, right? And how did I do it? I went through tons of videos and a couple books, maybe 4 or 5 books, but I went through those books like multiple times. So I would read one book like 4 times. Literally, I would read a book 4 times, right? And that's like, are you willing to do that, right? Do you have that fortitude? Like I read a Java book. First of all, Java. I don't know why I read a Java book, but I did. It was about 600 pages. I didn't read the whole thing 4 times. I did read the whole thing straight through, but I read certain chapters 3, 4, 5 times. So yeah, are you willing to do that, right? And the simple fact of the matter is most people are not. Okay, no problem. Just recognize that and figure out what can you do with your life. Maybe, programming clearly isn't for you. It's not a bad thing. I think what a lot of people tend to forget is like what the programming life really is like, at least for me. My day, I wake up around like 9 or 10 in the morning. I do my shower, my coffee. By like 11, I start programming. I don't stop until about 10. That's insane. Do you even want that life, right? I'm exaggerating, maybe 9, right? Some days I'll stop at 9 or 8 and I'll hit the gym for an hour, right? And then I'll come back and make these videos. Like I'm making this video right now. It's midnight on Sunday. That's because I just stopped programming about an hour and a half ago, right? Like that's why I make these videos when I do. I'm usually drinking a beer because I'm done work. I just got done working, right? So this is the end of my work day, right? Do you even want that life? I don't know if that's something that you really want to do. You have to evaluate that as well. That's an important consideration, right? So, a lot of people get sort of um, they get sort of seduced by the movies. I haven't watched any of these movies. I really don't want to, but I know how they portray programming. Like The Social Network and the show on I guess it's HBO, the Silicon Valley, and these shows portray the life a certain way. That stupid movie with Vince Vaughn, The Internship, a couple years ago, right? And they portray the life a certain way. And obviously, there's truth to it because it wouldn't be funny if it wasn't true. But from a day-to-day standpoint, like my life, I'm just in front of this very computer for 8, 9, 10 hours, and that's not exactly exciting for a lot of people, right? So, um, so like some of the things are like I get free beer at the office whenever I'm working for a client. Um, I guess that's cool. I don't know. I can pay for my own beer. What else? I've gotten free tickets to South by Southwest twice. So you get those little perks, but like that's far from a glamorous life. Like I don't live a glamorous life. However, I am very excited by the things I work on. Right? I actually do love working on um, uh, setting up a Lua script inside of Nginx so I can renew my SSL certificates on Let's Encrypt. That took me like 4 days to figure out. None of that was paid. That was all during the 4th of July holiday. It was like July 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, right? That's what I did. That's what I did. That's what I wanted to do. That's crazy, right? Do you want to do that? Is that something you're willing to do, right? So again, you get a lot of people who like to sort of talk, talk, talk at meetups and stuff. Just talkers talking, just sort of blowing hot air. The doers, we're not doing. I'm busy. We're not doing that. I'm doing, right? If you've been following my channel for any length of time now, you can probably go back not too long ago and see my first turbo video. I think it was March or April. It's only September now, so April, May, June, July, August, so 5 months, right? So if you go back and watch my first turbo video, you'll see what it was then and see what it is now. And Turbo right now has around close to 900 registered users. A couple of them are paying. I'm constantly adding to the site. It's going okay. I mean, so far it's no Amazon, but you get the idea. In that amount of time, just if you saw what I built on it, I think you would understand just how much literal time goes into making that. And I work alone. There's no other programmer. It's just me. I'm literally the only one building it. And guess what? This is fun for me. That's the part that most people don't seem to. Most non-programmers who are trying to get into it, they need to understand this. Because I've taught a lot of people now in the last 18 months through Velocity, and they're just not getting this part of the equation. This is fun for me, right? So if it's not fun for you, you might be able to grind it out, maybe. You might be able to grind it through, but you will be competing with a guy like me who it's 12:10 at midnight on Sunday, Labor Day, so it's kind of a weekend. When I wrap up this video, I'm going right back to programming. because that's what I do, right? So I'm not really sure kind of where I'm going with all this. I'm just saying that that you're either going to do it or you're not, right? And that's it. You're either going to do it or you're not. But one thing that that I've noticed now that I've been running Velocity for about a year and a half is I've met with a lot of talkers, people who say they're going to do things, and I've grown a little bit less patient with these people. I'm never rude, don't get the wrong idea, but I'm much more dismissive because you're either going to do it or you're not. All right, and that's it. That's sort of the message of this video. You stop talking. You're either going to do it or you're not. And that's it. Because I deal with a lot of talkers, especially in New York City. I get a lot of talkers. And time is of the essence. Time is valuable. My most precious commodity is time, not money. I can always make money back. I don't get my time back. And so when people want to waste my time with hot air, just blah, 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 I have to cut them off as quickly as I can so I can get back to work. Um, so figure out what you want out of this experience as a programmer. And if you're a doer, you'll know it. And if that's you, turn off this video and get back to work. That's as creators, as doers, that's what we do. Okay. So I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you in the next one.